Right, here we are for our next class. I think this is the 5th one. There's no Benny today. He's going to work down in the office. He's going to do a bit of work today. He's been slacking lately, so he's gone to do something else. So right, let's get going. Hope you're all right. Hope you're all feeling all right. These classes, pick and choose. They're all on the website now. They will be. This one, when this one's done, it'll go on there. So if you go to the website Pilates Bromsgrove, scroll to the bottom and they're all there. You can just click on that and it'll send you to the relevant link. So feel free to pick and choose and stop and start and use them as helps you. Right, so we'll start lying down. So as always, check your workspace. Make sure you've got enough space around you. Pets are put away. Nothing's going to tip on you. Get your mats, get your block, cushion, towel, anything you think you fancy, a bit of water, and lie yourself down. Okay. Feedback is that it's been a bit better, the lighting at this end of the room, so I'm going to stick here. So hopefully you can hear me all right. I had a bit of an issue with the mic and circuits last night, but hopefully it's all right today. So relax the shoulders. Find your comfortable lying position to start with. And if you want to, close your eyes. And just give yourself a little bit of time. Sounds all hippy-dippy, I know, but particularly now, you need to just give yourself time to chill, really, and focus on your body, not what's going on around you. So let go of anything that's going to need doing later on. It'll still be there. So relax your neck, relax your face. Shuffle around until your back feels comfortable, legs bent straight, whatever works for you. Breathing nice and deep into your belly, letting the air out through your nose or your mouth. And when you're ready, you're going to turn your head from side to side. Keeping your eyes closed if that suits you. And just check the muscles in your face, making sure that you're not tensing up through the eyes or jaw. Just let those muscles soften. Same in the neck. Fidget the shoulders if you're feeling a little bit tense around the top of this spine. Just try and let it relax a little bit. Check your knees, especially if you've got your legs straight. Sometimes we tense the legs up a bit too much, so relax the legs. And you can hold this stretch for a little bit, breathing out and letting your head go a little bit heavy and stretching the neck. Same other side. Take your head over, breathe in, and as you breathe out, just let the muscles in your neck soften and lengthen. One more each way. Enjoy that stretch at the side of the neck. Good. And then bring your head back to centre. And I'll start to work on these shoulders. So I'm going to start with my right arm and I'm going to circle the elbow around. It might feel a bit creaky to start with. Don't push into anything that feels uncomfortable or tight. Just gradually building that circle up. Trying to keep the weight level across your shoulders and the rib cage softly pressed down towards your hips. Reverse your circle when you're ready. Hopefully the creaking's starting to reduce. Start to feel a little smoother. And then you can, if you want to, remember, do a straight arm. Depends on how your shoulders are feeling and how much space you've got, whether you keep your arm bent or straight. But you're not overreaching. Remember, that rib cage isn't forcing up as your arm circles back. Again, both directions, starting to loosen into that shoulder. It's a bit colder today, so you might be indoors a bit. So you might, there's only so much cleaning you can do. Even when you're stuck in the house, there's still only so much cleaning you can do. And then same on the other side. So this is my left arm now I'm moving to, so circling around. Again, it might be a bit creaky. Remember, it's new to this shoulder, just because the other shoulder's warmed up. This one's got to have its turn, so take it easy. Both directions. Check you're not pushing back into your head. Can you hear Benny? I think he's seen a squirrel. Both directions, and then again if you want to, you can do a straight arm. He's obviously not got to the office yet to do any work. He's taking the commuter route. Keeping that ribcage just gently pulled down. Both directions again. And then if you want, when that arm starts to feel a little bit looser, you can bring both arms in together, squeeze the ribs down to the hips as your arms travel, and then you're getting shoulders and abdominal stretch at the same time. So your circle starts to get a little bit bigger. Just check you're not forcing your chin up. Letting that breath lengthen, fill your lungs, push the air out. There's a little bit of tightening in the belly to keep the rib cage and the pelvis lined up. And then you can leave the arms back a little bit longer. Bend the elbows if you want to and rest your hands on the floor if that suits you, or keep the arms straight, whatever suits you, but lengthen through the spine. And then we're going to put the hands underneath the head, or take the arms out to the side if you want a slightly easier stretch on those shoulders. But if you've got your hands underneath your head, remember you're going to bring the elbows in and out, and I'll try and get the breathing right this time. So take your elbows out and take a deep breath in, and that will fill your lungs up and stretch those chest muscles. So as the elbows go out and down, the shoulder blades just start to squeeze into the centre. If you have got any tight shoulders or any injury, you might prefer to start off one arm at a time. It might feel a little bit easier to get that moving if you're finding it all a bit much. What I don't want you to do is push your head up. So just starting to lengthen across the chest. Keep the elbows out and breathe a bit deeper. A couple more of these. Lovely. And then we'll go into our twist. So you can keep your hands underneath your head if you want to for your supine twist. I find it a little bit too difficult to control, so I'm going to take my arms out to the side instead and bend the legs. Now this is where you can put that cushion or block or rolled up towel if you want between your knees, just to support the legs a little bit if you want to. And then when you're ready, you're going to take the legs over to one side. Feet stacked if it's comfortable, turning your head and looking the opposite way. Going back to centre. Same on the other side. You might find that top knee has to lift slightly, it doesn't matter, but try and lengthen through the top of that leg. Sinking your shoulders down into the floor, enjoying that stretch. You might find at first, if your body's quite tight, it doesn't want to hold the position, you feel like you're having to force it, and we don't want that. So you might find at first that you're moving in and out of the moves quite quickly. As long as it's not just by momentum, as long as you're controlling it, that's fine. And then as you start to loosen, you find you want to hold that stretch a little bit longer. Hold it for a breath in and out if it suits you, but you don't want to feel that you're forcing and pushing against your stretch. And then when you've got to that stage where you enjoy holding the stretch, then you can push out through the top leg if you want to. If you've got the space, push the leg away. So it's just giving you that little bit more weight through the top leg to bring this hip over a little bit more. Try and sink the opposite shoulder down. You can lift the leg a bit higher if it feels a bit uncomfortable. It's going to start to give you a stretch in these glutes as well. So we are maybe all getting a little bit more tetchy now. We've been indoors, or we've been not doing everything we want to do for a while now. So just be careful if you are doing this with a partner. This is not a time to squabble about who has what space. Stretch out. One more each way. I'm hoping if there are some partners joining in now, well done. Good for trying something new. And next time your partner says I'm off to Pilates, it isn't just their lying down exercise they're going to do. There is some work involved. So come back to centre and then we'll start just getting a little stretch in the lower back. So if you're comfortable with your feet off the floor, bring them up. Let them come in as far as they want to and then cradle around the front or back rather than yanking them in. If you're not comfortable with your feet off the floor, remember keep your feet just down on the floor and start to let the lower back relax into the mat a little bit. But if you're happy with your feet up, give them a bit of a hug, relax the shoulders down, maybe reset the head. Sometimes the chin pings up when you stretch these hamstrings, so reset the neck, relax the shoulders. And for now, we'll imagine this floor is really comfortable. Like a nice comfortable mattress, letting us sink into it. And every time we breathe out, we just sink a little bit deeper into it. Letting the shoulders relax, letting the leg muscles soften and the shoulders soften. A couple more like this, just allowing your body to sink into the floor. Don't worry if you're a bit of a fidgeter, we won't be here for too long. Okay. Now if you like just lying still, if this is suiting your back, then just ignore the next one. But otherwise, hold on to the front of the knees or around the back of the knees and rock. And hopefully, because we've just allowed the back to relax a little bit, that rock doesn't feel like you're yanking the legs in. You're just letting the knees come towards the chest, move away. And that pelvis is tilting backwards and just slightly forwards. And if you're finding these legs again a little bit uncomfortable being up here, if you now put your feet down on the floor, you can tilt the pelvis backwards and forwards with your feet on the floor if you prefer. Try not to push back. Just let that glass of water sat on your belly just tip backwards and forwards. But feet up. If it suits you, it's a little bit easier and it's a nice stretch for the glute muscles as well as the lower back. And then we can go round in our circle, finding all those knots. If your neck feels a little bit strange, you might be letting the legs go too far forward. It's this pesky lower back again. Sometimes if you try and let the legs go too far, it pings your chin up. So just don't make the circle quite as big if you're feeling tension in your neck. Just moving around. And then we're going to get into these leg muscles. So feet on the floor, reset shoulders and hips. Start with your feet on the floor. You're going to straighten your right leg along the floor. Push through your heel as long as it doesn't feel crampy. Bring it back in. And same on the other, just stretching out and bending. Starting to get the leg muscles warmed up and working. Neutral pelvis, so make sure you're lying on the centre of your pelvis underneath, on your sacrum. You've got a straight line down the front. And trying to keep your weight centred. You're not rocking from side to side as you straighten those legs. So zip abdominals up a little bit, pull the belly button in a little bit. Remember that pelvic floor? Go to work the pelvic floor, zip it up, relax the shoulders. So this is starting to get the legs stretching and bending. Add a little ankle circle on at the end to work on your circulation. If you're finding you're getting a bit of cramp in the legs, especially if you've done a lot of gardening and then suddenly stop, the leg muscles might go a bit crampy on you. So nice bit of ankle rotation a few times a day. And you can stay with this low version or you can come to straightening the leg up towards the ceiling if you want to. So I'll start with my right leg because it's my best one. You're going to bend the leg to about 90 degrees and stretch up and down, and same on the left. Try and keep the thigh to roughly 90 degrees. You don't want to push it forward because that's not stretching the back of the leg. So you're going up, even if it doesn't straighten, it doesn't matter. Might have a few creaks from the knees to start with. Pushing up. Again, leg muscles are going to be tight, they always are when we first start off with them. So your first few reps aren't going to be held for very long, you're just literally letting the muscles get a little bit of fluid around them, loosening them up. When that feels a little bit easier, then you hold that stretch for a bit longer and add your ankle rotation. You can just start to notice your breathing while that leg's up there a little bit longer. Breathe in and out a little bit fuller, a little bit slower. Give it some time. And when that starts to feel a little bit easier, while you're circling your foot, think about these front thigh muscles and squeeze them tight a little bit. Bring that leg a little bit closer and you'll feel the back of the leg stretch. So you straighten your leg as straight as it wants to go, start to circle your foot, and then think about these front thigh muscles and squeeze them. Just adding on a little bit more quad work, which will stretch the hamstrings. Check the other leg's not pushing down. One more each leg. Use these thigh muscles. Check your shoulders aren't tense. Last one. And then draw your knees in again. Have your knees wider now, sort of about shoulder width. Relax the shoulders. And you can stay here again if you're not happy with your feet off the floor like this. Soles of the feet together, knees apart is another option, just to get into these hips a little bit. If you're happy with your feet off the floor, then you might prefer that option. Sinking into these legs, sinking them down into the floor. Stay here, or have the legs a little bit straighter and hold onto the shins. You know what's coming, don't you? Or tuck the toes and hold the toes. Push the toes into the hands. Press the hands against the toes. Relax the shoulders. Breathe. Again, if you find that you're okay with this stretch, you can use these quad muscles again. So squeeze your quad muscles. Almost like you're pulling on tights, pulling down into these muscles. Pushing your feet into your hands. And then bend the legs and stretch out. Lengthen the body. You can lift the rib cage slightly now if your back feels okay with that extra bit of work. So you're lifting up slightly through the rib cage, stretching the shoulders and the chest a little bit more. If it feels like it's going to cramp, just keep it neutral. Okay, then we're going to do some chest opener. We didn't do chest opener in class 4, so I feel I must put it in today. So roll over onto your side. I'm going to just come this way because you can see me then. You might want to put your cushion underneath your head. This shoulder must feel comfortable. If your shoulder's up round here, then all the moves on your side, you're just going to feel it in your neck and you're not going to be happy. So 1 or 2 cushions, rolled up towel maybe between your ear and the floor, something to keep the shoulder down but also support your head. I'll just use my arm. It's handy. I've usually got it with me. Have your knees bent. You can have your top leg in front if you find that more comfortable. Now lengthen the spine and draw the rib cage up. Arm out in front. You're going to lift the arm up. Reach for the ceiling so that rib cage is engaged. And then reach back. Pressing through the bottom leg as you reach back with your arm. You can turn your head if you want to, but you don't have to. Come back to centre. And lower. Now again, this is primarily about flexibility, so at first it might feel all tight and you're not happy to stay there for very long. So don't worry about it, just get that nice flowing motion going. But again, depending on your flexibility today, get yourself comfy, and when it does feel that it's a nice stretch, you stay there. A little bit of pressure through the bottom leg so you're not just leaning backwards. Rib cage lifted. And reach through your hand, check your bottom shoulder and breathe. So you gradually build up the length of time you hold a flexibility move. It shouldn't feel like you're gritting your teeth and waiting for somebody to say, okay, you can stop that now. It's not going to help. reach up, reach back. Little pressure through the bottom leg for grounding, lifting the rib cage to stack the spine. So if you imagine a ruler from your tailbone through the top of your head and line it all up. There's a tendency on the side to not notice and drop down, so your spine in effect is in a sort of a U shape. You want it in a straight line. For you, we've all got little kinks and weird bits, but for you, I'm not going to discuss my weird bits on camera, thank you very much. Check your support in your neck. Couple more. Lifting that torso, reaching through with the fingers. One more. I feel like I've made up for no chest opener now in the last class. I'm surprised nobody said anything. I usually get comments. Alright, and then we'll get some flexibility in the hip. And there are two options with this move today. You can do our hip opener. So you want a V shape in your legs. You don't want your feet too close because you can't lift your knees. But equally, if they're too far away, it don't work then. So it's finding that midpoint for you. Lengthen the spine, pull the rib cage up, draw the belly in. Relax your top foot, so it's just sitting on your bottom foot, and then lift your knee. Now, for me, this is a really disappointing move. That's it. That's all I've got. There's no more. If I want to get my knee higher than that, I've got to cheat and let this hip drop back. And my bum muscles aren't really doing anything. So it is just lifting. If you do find that you're not getting as much movement as you think you should be able to get, then try increasing or decreasing that bend in the knee and seeing if you're just finding that midpoint for you. But you're going to lift the knee, squeeze the bum, and lower. Hips are square, abdominals lift, drawn in, rib cage lifted. I went a bit hunched then for that one, so lengthen the spine. If this doesn't feel right for you, an alternative is to lift the feet and then open the knee. You might find that just gives you a little bit more movement, but make sure you are using these glute muscles. Squeeze. Think about that £20 note between your buttocks. It was a tenner, I've moved up. Pull that rib cage in and lift. So whichever suits you, feet down or feet up. You're going to do about 8, thereabouts. You've done a few already. And your aim is to use these bum muscles to lift the knee. So there's no point just dropping back on yourself. Yes, you'll get that initial, look at me, how big that gap is, aren't I doing great? But it's not what it's about, is it? Squeeze these bum muscles, use them. So feet up, feet down, about 8. When these bum muscles are said, that feels like 8. Put the knee down and give it a nice rub. And you can do a stretch if you want to from there, just by straightening the leg. Not too close to your nose because it'll be too big a stretch, but getting the leg straight and resting on the side of your foot. And if it doesn't feel like it's enough stretch, then you slide the foot a little bit closer. Tailbone points down to the foot end of your mat, so it's not coming with you. And you'll find that stretch down the back of your leg. Tense the front thigh muscles again a little bit if you want to enjoy that stretch. Just releases around that hip and down the leg. Then we've got our torpedo to do. So you're going to start with your legs straight. This is quite a lot of balance involved in this move. So if you find the whole move really difficult to do, bend the bottom leg. Rather than how I'm going to do it with straight legs, just bend the bottom leg and you'll find it a little bit easier to balance. But get your shoulders comfortable. You can have your pillow underneath your head with your arm out in front. Or some people like to have their arm by their ear. I find that's, one, I can't hear what I'm saying, and 2, I find it a little bit restrictive for my neck. So find the arm position that suits you, get your shoulders level, draw the rib cage, square the hips, stretch out through both legs if you're going to have them straight, both straight. Then check the gap between your hip and ribs, pull the waist in, draw the pelvic floor up, and you can keep that gap the same and lift the top leg. And lower it. And the aim is to use the muscles from the hip to the ankle to lift the leg. And the muscles around the centre switched on to keep this gap between hip and rib as stable as possible. So we knot this. Lengthen and lift. Check the pressure under this shoulder. Sometimes we push down when we're trying to lift up. So lengthen through your head, pull your rib cage in, lengthen the spine and pull the pelvic floor up. This is level 1. There's quite a lot of work needed on level 1. But if you want level 2, lift the top leg the same, stretch out through the spine and use the inner thigh muscles on that bottom leg to lift it slightly. Top foot to bottom foot and stretch out through your spine. And then lower back to the mat. So again, if you remember that ruler running down from your head to your tailbone, so your spine is stacked, and keep it stacked. Stretch through your heels, through your crown. If you're finding you're feeling it in your bottom hip or quite deep in that pelvis, stay with just lifting and lowering the top leg. I'm only going to ask you for 8 of these, maybe 10. If you've forgotten to count, start again. But what you're looking for is that point where you feel that you've done some work, you've got the point of the move, but you're not thinking everything's starting to shake and I'm not sure I should be doing any more. You're stopping at that point where you're in control. You can always come back and have another go. I'm going to do one more because that feels about right. And then bend your legs. Quite tiring on the legs, that. Give them a good recover. We've got a smidge of side plank to do before we go on the other side. Side plank, remember, comes with warning because of the shoulder. Your weight is balanced on that one side. So if there's any injuries in that shoulder, it's not advisable to do. Your alternative to side plank will be on your knees, arms by your sides or over your head, and you're going to sway. So if you look at the next exercise and you think, it's not for me, thank you, this will be your alternative. Side plank either on your hand or your elbow. I do it on my hand, I find them too low otherwise, but hand or forearm. Bottom leg bent, top leg straight, lengthen the spine and raise the arm. Imagine somebody pulling that top hand upwards. Press down through your feet, through your bottom leg and through your hand and lift your hip. Try not to push forward, line yourself up as if you're pressed against a wall. Reach up, squeeze your butt, lift your hip. Push down through this hand. If you can balance, raise the top leg slightly. Use your bum muscles, don't drop your hip. Hold it for a few seconds, maybe one breath in, one breath out and down. If you don't want to lift the leg, you don't have to. If you don't want to lift the hip, you don't have to. You can stay here. But if you are going to lift, use the 3 limbs. So these 3 limbs all helping together to lift you. Lengthen through your spine, squeeze your 10-pound note and lift the top leg. Hold it for a breath in and out. Push the floor away with this arm. Lengthen the spine. Back down. You're going to do 2 more if you can. So lift up, lengthen the spine, raise the arm, squeeze the bum muscles and lift the leg. Bottom leg is very active. It's not just there doing nothing, but if it's cramping, stretch through your top leg and through your arm a little bit more. You might be asking the bottom leg to do too much. 1 more. Reach up, lengthen the spine, lift, squeeze. Come on, lift this hip. And down. Well done. Here. Onto the other side. Over you go. I don't know what I'm smiling for. See, I'm having to do it all myself now. Right, on your other side, knees bent for your chest opener. So get your shoulders comfy, get your knees bent, top leg in front if you prefer. Right, so let's set the spine. So lengthen it, draw the rib cage, roll the shoulders, straighten the arm. Give yourself a minute or 2 to breathe. And then raise the arm. Anchor the bottom leg down into the floor and reach back with the arm. Turn your head if it suits you. Back to centre and down. And listen to your body. There's no point taking the arm back and holding it if your body is screaming at you to stop. So hold it for as long as it feels right for you. Come back and down. Keep checking this rib cage is lifted. You can hold it for your breath in and out if that helps you time it. Full breath in, full breath out. Then you're ready to come back. Use that as a time if you want to. I'm talking a lot more about breathing at the moment than I do normally in the class, because I tend to all do a bit of chattering in the class, so we're not holding our breath anyway. But at home, you might find that you forget to breathe a little bit, and we don't need that. So one thing we must keep doing is breathing. Lengthen through the arm, support your head, anchor through that bottom leg. Reach up. So as you reach up, your shoulder blades slide together slightly. Rib cage lifted to allow you to reach back, anchoring through the bottom leg. The wall's getting in the way. One more. Chest reaching for the ceiling. Okay, and then we've got your hips to do. So you remember you want your V shape. A bit of experimenting, finding the right V for you. Draw the rib cage, pull the belly in, lengthen the spine again, and then start to lift and lower that top leg. And it'll vary. You might be more comfortable on this side with your feet down on the floor, or you might find it easier with your feet up, or just suits you better. But with your feet up doesn't mean you push down on this bottom hip. Draw the rib cage up, and you want to feel these bum muscles working, whichever way you're doing it, whether it's your feet up or your feet down. Squeezing these glute muscles. About 8, and again, if it's feeling a little bit tight today, you might just want to make the move quite, not quick, but not slow. So just lifting and lowering, but if you're feeling a little bit more flexible today, you can hold that stretch a little bit longer. Keeping the pelvis stacked, so not dropping down on yourself. Avoid that temptation just to let the knee drop, the hip drop back, because there's no work going on now, bum muscles are doing nothing. Keep lifting and lengthening the spine. Squeezing those glutes together. So this leg muscle should be working quite hard. Check the bottom shoulder isn't. And maybe another couple if you can. Keeping the hips stacked. One more. Good. And then if you put that leg down, give it a rub. And we do our hamstring stretch. So if you take the top leg out, not too close because it's quite a big stretch this. Tailbone points down, legs out straight, and you're just resting on the inside edge of your foot. And then you can just move the leg towards you a bit, finding that stretch on the back of your leg. I can't remember if we did this now or after torpedo, so we'll do it now while I remember it. Leg is comfortably straight. I don't want you to drop into this knee, so leg comfortably straight. Push through your heel if you want, keeping your tailbone pointing down, and you bring the leg as close as you want to or need to feel that stretch. It's quite a good sciatica relief stretch this. If you get that pinch of your sciatic nerve, it just gives you a chance to try and stretch it all out. And then we've got our torpedo. So remember this one, the full one gets you with the legs straight and both legs moving, but it's quite a lot of balance work and quite a lot. So anybody who's got any hip or sacroiliac issues, you might find the whole move a bit much, in which case you just do level 1, and you can keep the bottom leg bent if you want to. But otherwise straighten out, get your shoulder comfortable, pillow under your head, arm out in front if you want. Some people like their arm by the side, and you can put a towel between your head and your shoulder if you like lying that. I prefer just to keep my arm bent. Stretch out, stack your feet, draw the rib cage. Check that gap between the hip bone and the bottom rib and try and keep it level both sides. And then you lift the top leg. And it's using the glutes and the thigh muscles, the glute med and the abductor muscles down the leg to lift it, and the obliques and all these deep muscles around here, around the hip flexors, to stop the pelvis dropping down. So you lift and lower. And level 1 is just the top leg lifting away from the bottom leg, bum muscles working, spine lengthened. If you're struggling for balance or you don't feel that the right muscles are working, bend the bottom leg and just put a little bit of pressure through the bottom leg, and it will help you support your pelvis, support your spine a little bit. Level 2, if you want, you lift the top leg, push through it, stretch through the bottom leg and use the inner thigh muscles to bring the bottom leg away from the floor. Top foot comes to it and you stretch out and then lower. So we've got that ruler, that idea of that ruler again, from head to tailbone, straight line down the body as we lift. Check your bottom shoulder is comfortable. Don't forget to breathe. And you're building up strength. Hopefully you can feel, if you just rest your hands sort of around that crescent, that knobbly bit of your hip, you'll feel those muscles tense. And that's going to stop that John Wayne walk. When we're allowed to walk again. When you're having your outdoor time that you're allowed, don't feel guilty for taking that, you're allowed, as long as it's appropriate for you. And you can use that time to really think about your posture when you're walking. You can't even walk your designated walk. I'm even bullying you on that, I'm sorry. A couple more of these. And then rest. Good. Just that little bit of side plank to do next. So remember, your alternative is up on your knees and swaying. Remember that one? Up here, shoulders down. You can have your arms raised, but you don't have to. And then you sway. And you're working these side muscles, just the same as plank. If you're going to do it, come to plank. Elbow or hand. Bottom knee bent, top leg straight. Use these muscles engaged. So there's a gap between your shoulder and your ear. You're not sunk in. Top arm raised. The legs, the arm are all going to work together to help you lift your hip. Stretch out. Try not to push forward onto your knee. So use your foot underneath you. Stretch out, and if you can do a little bit more, clench the buttocks and lift the top leg. Hold it for a few. Breath in and out again is a good timer. And sit down. If you're getting cramp in the bottom leg, these other two limbs aren't doing enough to help. So push the floor away with your arm, push the floor away with your foot, and lift. All three have got to work together. Draw the rib cage, lengthen the spine. Lift that top leg if it feels good, but don't drop. Breath in, breath out, and down. Rise yourself up. Lengthen through the top of your head, through your fingers, squeeze and lift. Check your neck, that your head hasn't dropped one way or the other. Breath in, breath out, and down. Two more. Push the floor away. Lengthen through this top leg. Squeeze the bum. Raise that top arm. Good. Down. Last one, reach up. Lengthen the spine. It's the last one you have to be careful of because your brain's going, that's the last one, let's just get it done. Control it. Lift this hip. And down. Well done. Have a little rest. Onto your hands and, no, onto your belly. I'm going to lie down on your front now. I'm just going to have a quick drink. So you lie yourself down on your belly. If anybody doesn't like to be on their front, all the moves we're going to do on our front you can do on your hands and knees if you prefer. But otherwise, down you go. Bring your arms to about 90 degrees-ish. pillow underneath your forehead if you want to, and then you're going to raise your right arm about shoulder, so your elbow's about level with your shoulder and your fingers level with your elbow. And down. Same on your left arm. So it's like you've just rested your arm on a shelf, just by your side. And you're going from side to side again. Only hold that position for as long as feels right for you. If your arm and shoulder is screaming at you to stop, that means you stop. Lift. We're just working into the shoulder here a little bit. You might find your arm dips. Just make it a little bit lower if you need to. Belly button's drawn to spine. Spine is lengthened out. And then you've got a choice again if you want to, of breathing in. As you breathe out, squeeze the abdominals and lift both arms together, squeezing the shoulder blades together. And down. You can have the arms a little bit straighter, which might make the move a little bit easier, might make it harder. Finding that position that's right for you, where you can feel the back of your shoulders working. Check your neck. Sometimes the neck tries to do too much. So try your arms a little bit straighter, a little bit closer. Find that position where you can feel the back of your shoulders working, abdominals tight, bum muscles squeeze slightly to support you. If your arm starts to cramp, mine just did a bit then, give it a little fidget around. Try to lift the shoulder blades together. Couple more. Squeeze those abdominals. One more. Squeeze, lengthen the spine. And down. It's a tough one, isn't it? First for me. Fold the arms, you're probably going, no. Fold the arms, put your head on your arms. I'm going to get the bum muscles working now. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to lift my head because you can't hear me if I'm muttering down there. What I'm going to do is lift the leg, but not over lift it, where all you're doing here is just pushing down into your belly. So you're going to draw your abdominals in, relax your shoulders, and it's just like your foot is breaking the surface of the water, lifting up. Gently press down into the front of your pubic bone, lengthen through the spine, and use your bum muscles to raise the leg. So if you start to feel it a lot in your lower back, try pushing through your heel and through your crown of your head. If you are finding the move, okay, don't really feel a lot happening really, what you can do is, at the moment I'm making it a little bit easier by alternating. So what you can do is do a few repeaters where you're lifting the leg repeatedly, 5 or 6. And as you lift the leg, gently push down on the pubic bone and push through the heel. Keep the pelvis square. So we want to feel the bum muscles working, we want to feel the hamstrings working. Push through the heel. Squeeze the abdominal muscles tight. Keep raising my head because I feel like I'm talking to the mat otherwise. But you're going to keep a neutral spine. Have a rest when you've done. You want to do about 8 off each side, but again that varies. Some of you might find 3 or 4 is enough. Some of you might push on and do 2 sets. Depends how you're feeling. When you've had enough though, we're going to do a bit of a stretch for the back. So first thing I want to do is just to release that. Put your hands by your shoulders, push yourself up onto your knees. You can stay on your knees, hands and knees, or you can sit back and stretch out. Just that line on the front, using your bum muscles, can be quite, make them a bit tight, so just stretch them out. You can stay on the hands and knees, rock around a bit, or sit back, whatever suits. Because we're going to go back down and do a little bit of lower back work, so I want to just make sure you've loosened up first. When you're ready, back down onto your front. Have your arms about 90 degrees-ish, maybe a little bit further out, and bring yourself up into your stretch. So you're pushing the floor away a little bit with your hands, rearing up, pushing your chest forward, Relaxing your shoulders down and back down again. And again, find that position time for you where it feels like you're giving yourself time to have a stretch, but your body's not screaming at you to stop. And again, finding that position, hand position that's right for you. Further your hands are away, the smaller the stretch will be. So gradually finding one that's most effective for you. Sliding your shoulders down, chest forward and up. Bum muscles just get squeezing a bit to support you. Finding that nice stretch for you. Giving yourself time. Pushing the floor away, reaching your chest forward, pushing, just allowing really the breastbone to come forward. The shoulders back and down. One more, if it feels good to do it. Good. And relax. Then up onto the hands and knees. Bit of cat and cow, which hopefully will feel quite good after that one. So from here, hands underneath the shoulders. Remember, if you don't like hands and knees, cat and cow, you can sit on your bum and flex and stretch your back from seated instead. But otherwise, hands underneath the shoulders, lengthen the spine, pull the belly button to the spine, tuck the tailbone and round the spine. So you're tucking your chin in, looking at your thighs or maybe your belly button, gently pushing the floor away with your hands and then straightening back out to neutral, letting your belly button push down towards the floor and your chest push forward and up and arching your back and levelling up. Now I know some of you find the arching really difficult, so rather than trying to force it, do the bit that your back likes doing, where you round and straighten, and do a few of those. And when you've done a few of those, come up onto your knees and do your back stretch that way, if you find that more natural for your back. And all you're trying to do is push the chest forward and up, shoulders back and down, just exactly the same as those doing it on the hands and knees. Just doing it on the hands and knees means you can get both done at the same time, but only if it suits your body. What I don't want you to do is just head and bum moving and nothing in the middle, because it's about the spine really. So you're lengthening, dropping your belly button down, lengthening through, and then curling in. Tucking the tailbone under, tucking the chin in, pushing the spine up towards the ceiling to allow you to bring your head and your tailbone inwards, pushing the floor away with your hands. And then come back to centre, and then we've got our knee hovers. We can't get out of these knee hovers, can we? Remember your knee hovers on your hands or your forearms. Forearms, you just got to watch that you don't bring your shoulders up round your ears. Push the floor away with your hands, tuck the toes if you want to, push down, weight in the arms, lift the knees about 1 inch or 2 at the most, pushing through the arms, lengthening the spine, counting for 5 seconds if you can, and then back down and just sit back off the hands again. You're going to try and do 5 of them, but I know it's very demanding on the wrists. So again, I don't want your wrists screaming. You can try down on the forearms instead to finish your reps, or do as many as is right for you. But I want you to lengthen the spine, zip the abdominals, pushing through the floor with your hands. Don't hold your breath. So you're going to try that thoracic breathing. So while you're up in your knee hover, you're going to breathe through your ribs. So probably get 1 breath in and 1 breath out. I reckon there's about 2 more to do. Push down, widen across your shoulders, across your back, lift. Could be worse, I could be getting you to do handstands. I won't, don't worry. Last one, push, lengthen the spine, weight in these arms, really good for these triceps and upper body strength this. Abs pulled in tight. and rest. And then sit your hips back. Keep your chest high if that suits you, a high child's pose, or go lower if it feels right for your body. Have your knees apart and let your weight sit down. Relax the neck. You can put your cushion under your forehead if you want to. Fold your arms if that suits you better. Sink these hips down now. The spine, have a stretch out. You've earned this one after those knee hovers. I'm just going to give you a bit of side stretching while we're here. So push your hips back and take your body and your arms over towards the right. So you're lining up with your right knee. If you've got a bit more stretch in you, this left hand can squeeze over onto your right hand. Push back gently through your hips and you should feel a stretch down your left side. Breathe. Again, only stay as long as your body wants you to. If your body starts to scream and it wants you to stop, it means it. Listen to it. Come back to centre. Reach out again. Then over to your left side. Push your hips back. If there's a bit more stretch to be had, right hand can sit on top of left hand and push back. Breathe into the side of this body. We're going to do both sides once more. So breathe into the side of your body. When it's had enough, come back to centre, line up, and then over again to the right. Go at your pace. Push back and breathe through the side, relaxing your neck. Back to centre when you're ready, and once more over to the left. Right hand on top, push the hips back, breathe into the right side of your body. And then come back to centre, back up onto those hands. Lovely. Okay, we're going to do some lying on your back. So bring yourself down over into your side bottom, onto your bum. Grab yourself a quick drink if you want one. And we'll finish with a bit of supine work. So cushion under your head if you want, lying on your back. It'll feel good to lie on your back now. Good. Shoulders relax, knees bent. Giving yourself that little bit of time to lengthen. So I want you to imagine now that this carpet, this mat isn't a mat, this floor isn't a floor. We're on a magic carpet and we're flying free over the city. So all we've got underneath us is air. So we've got to keep our weight pretty level now because we want to stay on this magic carpet, we want to topple off it. So just lengthen out, and when you're ready, zipped up in the centre, you're going to lift your right foot just slightly off your magic carpet. And down. And same on your left, because we're proper showing off. There's not many people got a magic carpet, you know. So we're going to stay level on it and we're showing off that we can actually just have one foot on our magic carpet and still balance. Lengthen through the arms. Try not to let the arms do too much. We don't want to push down, but those arms are working. You're going to feel them. You might feel them tingling after your knee hovers. So they are engaged and we're just lifting this foot enough that we can balance on one leg and two shoulders. And we're not tipping around. So this straight line down the front is still there. Good. And you can stay with this lower version. Or you can come to knee fold. So for knee folds, the difference is the leg lifts higher to about 90 degrees. Check that you have bent your knee. If like me your quads get a bit tight, your foot tends to want to be up here. So stretch the quads by bringing the foot a little bit lower and hold in that position for your full breath in and your full breath out, and then down. So what we're trying to do is keep the pressure underneath all these pressure points exactly the same. So we can fly on our magic carpet and do our Pilates at the same time. Great, isn't it? Lengthen through the spine, I'm sorry. The walls are starting to close in on me. And then you've got level 2 knee fold if you want. I've said it before, I'll say it again, but if like me, you've got a real arch in your back, lifting the second leg is quite a challenge. So what you do is tilt the pelvis back slightly. Tighten the belly, and then the second leg floats a little bit easier. Still use these abdominals, still bend the knees, line the legs up, relax the shoulders, holding that for your breath in and out from your rib cage. Carefully placing your feet back on your magic carpet so we don't make it wobble. Up, lengthen, up. Breathe in, breathe out, and lower. And we're getting these stabilising muscles that run down the spine stronger. We're getting the leg muscles stronger. We're allowing our brain a little bit of rest because it's only got to think about a really simple thing like lifting the foot off the floor. It's got to focus on it. Once more. Now this time, put your feet down and have a stretch out. And stretch your arms out. And float on this carpet. Just like float along, feel that nice bit of breeze. Because we're going to take this, what we're doing for time, we're going to take this into a bit of single leg kick, bit of hip lifts, and we're finished. So bend the knees, arms down by the sides. Level 1, find your neutral spine, zip up, right foot into knee fold position, about 90-degree at hip and knee. Left arm up, hand over shoulder. Little squeeze of the centre muscles. Remember, this is where it could come along and give you a bit of a tickle and you wouldn't notice. Push the leg forward, pull the arm back. Ribs and hips lined up. Squeeze that centre. Don't hunker down, but squeeze it tight. Breath in, breath out, centre and down. Keep your weight as level as you can. Balance yourself. Push through the heel and get a nice calf stretch. One more in this level, and then I'm going to give you the harder level to finish if you want to. Push out, pull in, lift, push out, pull in. If you want to carry on with that level, do. Or come to double knee fold, so you tilt the pelvis if needs be, bring the other leg up to knee fold and both hands up. Move exactly the same, so you breathe in, as you breathe out, squeeze the centre and travel the arm and leg out. Pull them in. Same on the side. Now you've got time to practice this without other people distracting you. This is a difficult one to get right because there's always a tendency to think you should be going faster because the person next to you is. It's not. You've got to keep this centre tight. You've got to keep the gap between the rib and your hip tight. And hold in this position is strength. Push out. Squeeze that centre tight. Check the shoulders. Haven't bunched up. Push through your heel. Push, lengthen the spine. So ease through the top of your head. Push out. Good. Hip lifts to finish. They always feel good after that one. So feet on the floor. If you've got a cushion under your head, just take it away. Put it between your knees if you want to. Now, have your arms straight and imagine your fingers trying to touch your heels. And they're going to stay there. So your fingers want to stay quite close to your heels. So when you lift up, try not to slide along your mat. Good. So you're trying to keep your hands flat down and lift up. That's really for people who find that they end up with their head pushed against the wall behind them. I'm trying to get you to keep your shoulders still, so you're lifting through your hips. Neutral spine, so we're not tipping back first. Remember, we've got a difference between bum muscles and belly muscles. The bum muscles do the lifting. The belly muscles hold us in when we're up there. So squeeze the bum, lift up, lengthen through the thighs, squeeze that centre. If you can then, without letting your shoulders move, take your hands off the floor. Check the knees haven't drifted. Engage the leg muscles, back up and down. You're going to do another couple of these if you can. So keep the hands close to the heels to lift you. Squeeze the centre and then float the arms up and back. If you're feeling it in your lower back, check the pelvis hasn't tilted one way or the other. Lift, really stretch out the front of these legs. Stretch out these abdominal muscles. Okay, come back down. Draw the knees in. Or lie your legs flat, whatever comfortable position you want. I quite like bringing the knees in after that one, but if you prefer, have your legs out straight. Relax the shoulders. I'm going to finish today, rather than doing any standing to finish, I'm just going to keep you on the floor and I'm going to give you a minute or two again, just to let your body chill. So you can find your lying down position, or sitting if you prefer, if you don't want to lie down. You can have the soles of your feet together. You can have your legs straight. You can curl over onto one side. It doesn't matter. Whatever position, basically it lets you let go. And let go. So this magic carpet has become really clever now. We literally have to just sink into it and feel ourselves just floating. You can feel all those different smells as you float over forest, sea, sand. Just feel all that different air touching you and breathing it in. You can feel warm air or cold air. You can just let the air take you wherever it wants, or you can imagine controlling it, whatever works for you. But it's supporting you. Notice any muscles that are a little bit reluctant to let go. Maybe you need to change position slightly, just to give them their chance to rest. And then our magic carpet has brought us to the end of our journey, so we're going to fiddle, we're going to move the fingers and the toes, fidget around a little bit, move the wrists, move the ankles, stretch out, a little bit of twisting to one side, and the other side. And then we're going to sit up, hands underneath us or roll to one side, and then to bring yourself up to sitting. Hands behind you and just stretch the back. Felt a bit nicer on a Friday to do a lie down finish and getting you to stand up and do your balancing. You can always go back and do some of the balancing work on the other classes if you want. A little bit of look round, twist round, see where this carpet's brought you. I didn't ask to come here, where's the other one? Right, my dears, you're done. Thank you very much.